And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this show this morning, the 12th of October. Yes, we are getting very close to the halfway mark in October as well. Well, today is cloudy, a little bit of shower drizzle this morning on my work, and 18 degrees at the moment, and it's going to be remaining cloudy throughout the day. And this is the outlook for the rest of the week, by the way, from BOM, which is the Bureau of Meteorology. Well, right now, let's move on with the news, because we have got quite a bit to get through today. And of course, it's a very, very historic day, because there is an opening, as they reckon. The good news is that Australia is ready for business, and we are open for business. And many things, even looking out the window, the traffic, I've never seen it like that in a long time. It's all back to, looks like, to normal, even though it might not be never. Well, none other than our Prime Minister is here to announce that opening.
Today is a day so many have been looking forward to. A day when the things we take for granted we'll celebrate. Being with family and friends, getting a haircut, grabbing a meal together, going to the pub and having a beer with your mates. These are things that across New South Wales and particularly in Sydney people will be able to do again today. And I know all around the country that will be true, particularly in Victoria and here in the ACT. I want to thank Australians for the incredible job that they've done getting vaccinated. Over the weekend, more than 400,000 vaccines were administered across the country. That is the biggest weekend we've had throughout the entire vaccination program. And that tells me one thing, that Australians have been totally up for this the whole way through. They're getting the job done. And whether you're in a state like New South Wales that is opening up today, a state like Victoria that soon will be, or over in the West or up in Queensland, where the impact of COVID has not been the same, but still we need those vaccines to ensure that when COVID inevitably comes, that in those states you'll be able to continue on as you have. So let's keep going, Australia, with the vaccination program. To all those particularly in Sydney and across New South Wales today who are opening up today, enjoy the moment, enjoy it with your family, enjoy it with your friends. I'm looking forward to seeing my family as well, having come out of this quarantine. On the other big issues, though, we need to keep going ahead, whether it's protecting Australia's national security or ensuring our economic recovery, because as we open up, the economy will bounce back strongly and those jobs will come back and people will be back in work, and we will see that month after month after month as we get more and more people back at work, back in jobs, back in the economy. But we also must deal with the big challenges. Addressing climate change is a challenge that we must do together. As Prime Minister, it's my job to bring people together on dealing with this big change. The world is moving into a new energy economy. We all know that. It's now a question of how, not if. And how is how we can ensure that those communities right across rural and regional Australia can look at this change and understand that there are big opportunities and there's a way through. My government is committed to ensuring that rural and regional Australia transitions to this new energy economy in the future stronger, with their jobs and their communities intact, and they can look forward with confidence and they can plan for the future with confidence. We've got to come together on this issue. My government will come together on this issue. The country will come together on this issue, and we'll tackle this challenge just like we've tackled the challenges already before us. Thanks, everyone.
And thank you very much, Prime Minister, for that update. And yes, it is a very significant day and a very significant pull. Right now, let's go around the country and take a look. Well, as you mentioned before, ICT, let's get an update from there.
Here we are at one of the most successful mass vaccination clinics in the nation. The ACT vaccination program has continued to set new records. And today we're very pleased. We've gone over 98% first dose coverage across our 12 plus eligible population. This is a very significant achievement for the Territory, and one we could not have done without the incredible hard work of the team at Canberra Health Services, supported by ACT Health. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people had the opportunity to get vaccinated at this clinic, at the Garran Surge Centre earlier in the pandemic, and at the airport mass vaccination clinic, together with the AstraZeneca clinic at Calvary Hospital. It's been an exceptionally strong program that's seen ACT government clinics deliver nearly half of all of the doses in our program that is nation leading. And so from today, we're very pleased to be able to announce that the clinic is now available for walk-up appointments. You don't need a booking. And so for the remaining several thousand Canberrans who are yet to get a first dose, they can walk up and get vaccinated here at the OAS Mass Vaccination Clinic. The operating hours are 8 in the morning to 8:30 p.m, 7 days a week. And over the next 4 days in particular, as we get to the point that the lockdown ends, we are very strongly encouraging the remaining Canberrans who are yet to get vaccinated to come forward. We have a pop-up clinic out at West Belconnen at the Kippax Library operating over the next 4 days as well, and we continue targeted outreach programs as well as these mass vaccination hubs. Based on the forward bookings within our system, we think we will cross over from 98% to 99% first dose. What we've seen in the balance of the program in the last few days, yesterday for example, only 15% of all the vaccinations were first dose, 85% were second dose. So our second dose level, our fully vaccinated level, is a full 25 percentage points behind the first dose, but that's going to change very rapidly over the next 3 weeks. Where we hope to be by the end of October is well over 90% of the ACT eligible population, that is 12 years and above, who will have had 2 doses of the vaccine. We also have access now for immunocompromised people to a 3rd dose of Pfizer. It can be undertaken with your GP. And I understand GPs are already contacting people in those circumstances to book them in for a 3rd dose. We will of course work with the Commonwealth Government on the booster program for the general population, but that comes after we have completed the primary program. And that is the focus over the next 3 weeks. The next 4 days in particular, about those remaining first doses, and then with the dosing interval of 3 weeks for Pfizer and 4 weeks for Moderna. We look forward to seeing the fully vaccinated figures match the first dose figures, and that should be achieved for people who are having their first dose this week in early November. What this means is that Canberra will be amongst the most vaccinated places in the world. And this is just so critical to our economic recovery, to protect our health system, and to ensure that Canberrans can emerge from lockdown and the gentle steps that we take over the coming 2 to 4 weeks back into a more normal life. That's something I'm sure we are all looking forward to. And the first stage of that will begin on Friday. And now
So there we go. The first stage will begin on Friday there for ACT, and of course Sydney and other areas have started with those east restrictions as well. Well, let's get a report from Victoria.
So, look, we're making sure we have the best technology in place to support Victorians as we move closer to our vaccination targets, opening up our state and getting our world-famous creative and cultural events up and running, just like the concert at the Bowl. So the trials launching tomorrow will allow us to test our systems so we can make sure our reopening is as smooth and as easy as possible. And what we're trying to create here is to have a really positive user experience by incorporating your immunisation certificate into your Service Victoria app, so that from a business perspective or an events perspective, you can QR code in, check in, and show that you've been vaccinated all in the one location. From tomorrow, fully vaccinated Victorians will be able to get ready to share their Commonwealth-supplied COVID-19 digital certificate to the updated Service Victoria app via the Express Plus Medicare app or through the MyGov website. Instructions on how to share the Commonwealth-supplied COVID-19 digital certificate to the Service Victoria app will be made available on the Service Victoria website and at coronavirus.vic.gov.au when the new version of the app is available tomorrow. So I'd like to stress that you'll need the updated version of the app, and you cannot start this journey from your camera if you've been checking in that way. So when we open up, Victorians will be able to check into a venue or event and show their proof of vaccination at the same time by sharing their COVID-19 digital certificate to the Service Victoria app. The check-in confirmation screen will show a green tick plus the person's name and the word valid certificate. Victorians visiting the businesses and events participating in the Vaccinated Economy trial will be the first to use the updated Service Victoria app to check in and show proof of vaccination, and we stand ready to help businesses through this period because we know it won't be an easy journey for everyone. So you'll be able to add your COVID-19 digital certificate to the Service Victoria app from either the Express Plus Medicare app or using the MyGov website. And we encourage people to get a MyGov account if they haven't already got one, and link it to their Medicare online account so they're ready. The Services Australia website has information about how to do this, and this is how you'll share your COVID-19 digital certificate to the Service Victoria app when the app update is available. For those who are not eligible for Medicare, you can access your immunisation history statement through your individual health identifier at MyGov, and you can get an individual health identifier through MyGov if you don't already have one. Alternatively, if you don't have access to technology, you can call the Australian Immunisation Register on 1800 653 809. I'll say that again. So it's 1800 653 809 and ask them to send your statement in the post.
So that's a very, very important number there to remember. Well, of course, remaining in Victoria, Victoria's Deputy Secretary for COVID, could not control her emotions in making this report.
Yesterday in the northern suburbs, we saw 499 new cases, which was 31% of all cases. Pleasingly, we are seeing a stabilisation in Hume, which had 169 new cases yesterday. Now, in previous weeks, we know that we have seen Hume recording up to 300 cases a day. I think the dramatic increase in vaccination rates in this area has gone a long way to helping us bend the curve of the infection in this area. Hume's now up around 85.6%, so our thanks and gratitude to the people of Hume. In the west, we saw 427 new cases, which was 27% of the total new cases. In the east, there were 95 new cases, and in the southeast, there were 459 new cases, which is 29% of the new cases. Now, the city of Casey had the highest of any local government area yesterday with 174 new cases, and neighbouring Greater Dandenong had the fourth highest after Hume and Whittlesea with 109 cases. Now, we have been expressing concern about the southeastern suburbs for a few weeks now. We have been standing up additional testing and vaccination capacity in that local area. So this includes a new drive-through on Thompson's Road in Cranbourne, which is opening up today. This site has capacity for an additional 2,000 tests a day, which will really greatly improve access in that area. That brings the total number of testing sites in Casey to 7. There are also 2 state vaccination centres, and in Greater Dandenong there are 4 testing sites and an additional 2 vaccination centres. So if you live down in the southeast, if you have symptoms, please do go along and get tested. If you're feeling well and you haven't been vaccinated yet, now is a great time to do it. In regional Victoria, there were 122 new cases, which is now 8% of the total new cases. This includes 18 cases in Baw, 16 in Latrobe, 15 in Greater Shepparton. Concerningly, 36 new cases in Mildura, which is of course currently in lockdown. and this brings the total in Mildura to 90 active cases. Yesterday there were 1,600 tests done in Mildura, which means that over a 2-day period 8% of the population has been tested, which is a fantastic effort, and our thanks to that local community and all of the local providers there who have been doing a huge amount of work to boost those testing rates. With regard to the age of positive cases, 22% of yesterday's cases are over the age of 50, and that has been slowly increasing in recent days. This is of course concerning because we know that COVID can have a devastating impact for older Victorians. And this is demonstrated by the 58% of yesterday's hospitalisations being over 50. So of course the best way to protect yourself from ending up in hospital with severe illness is to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. For younger people, it's really important to have that conversation with your grandparents, your parents, your aunties and uncles, and make sure that everyone in your family is protected. Zooming out a little bit, well, as the Minister said, over 86% of our 16-plussers in Victoria have been vaccinated now. That's 72% of the total population have now received at least one dose of the COVID vaccine. Now, Victoria is not a country, but if we compare ourselves to some countries around the world, that puts us ahead of countries like the US, Switzerland, Israel, Germany, Sweden and Austria. Now, most of those countries have a higher second dose coverage than Victoria because we're early on in our journey and we're moving very, very quickly at the moment. But we will absolutely get there, and in all likelihood we will exceed the vaccination rates of many of those countries. We know that once a Victorian comes forward for their first dose, they are very, very likely to come forward for their second dose. We have excellent compliance for second doses, and given that our first dose rollout is moving very, very quickly now, it is absolutely within our power to be one of the highest vaccinated areas in the world, which is something that every Victorian should be proud of.
And that is something to be proud of, coming out of that pandemic in the way that they've done. Well, I'm now finishing off in this segment before we go to the Daily India report, is a little bit of a glimpse of hope, a ray of hope. Yes, we could soon be going to Fiji.
So the announcement was made by Fijian Prime Minister Frank Bainimarama to coincide with Fiji's Independence Day celebrations. So Australians will be able to have a holiday in Fiji. In order to do so, they'll have to prove that they've been fully vaccinated and return a negative COVID-19 test 72 hours prior to departure. When they get to Fiji, they won't have to go into quarantine, but they will have to spend 48 hours in a hotel of their choice and then return another negative COVID test. And then from there, they'll be able to travel freely throughout the country in designated travel safe zones. So this exciting news comes with the announcement that Fiji has reached 80% of its population having been fully vaccinated, the country achieving that target 3 weeks ahead of schedule. So it's a very exciting time for Fiji, particularly those in the tourism sector, which has been heavily impacted by border closures and by COVID-19.
It's so exciting, the energy even in the resort itself and around the country. Everyone's just ecstatic. It's been building for quite a few weeks and quite a few months.
And with these announcements, a number of Australian families are starting to book holidays to Fiji. One of those is the Thwaites, who have been in lockdown in Sydney. I spoke with Mum Lisa, who said booking a tropical getaway to the Pacific felt a little surreal, but also very rewarding. Here's what she had to say.
It is very strange, but really it's exciting and really liberating, feeling like we're rejoining the rest of the world.
So a very exciting time for both Australians and people in Fiji.
Wonderful news. And of course, moving on right now, we'll take a commercial break and get a message from our sponsors of this segment, GlobeNet Realty. And don't forget that tomorrow we have the real estate update with the courtesy of GlobeNet Realty, when Usha Chandra will be right here in the studios to discuss the latest trends and facts and figures.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
And real estate is there. Well, don't forget that tomorrow or every Wednesday at 10 a.m. we have the real estate update with Usha Chandra, the principal of GlobeNet Realty. Ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to go for our daily India report.
Welcome to the Daily India Report that brings you glimpses of the changing India and the growing engagement of the Indian diaspora with India. India-China hold 13th round of talks have failed to make headway to end the 17-month military standoff. But no confrontation is likely. The Indian Army said the latest round of talks between Indian and Chinese military commanders over the standoff in Ladakh has broken down, adding that the Chinese side was not agreeable and could not provide any forward-looking proposals. India claimed to make constructive suggestions for resolving the remaining areas, but the Chinese side was not agreeable. Without a way forward, the Indian side claims the meeting was inconclusive. However, the two sides have agreed to maintain communications and also to maintain stability in the ground. India hopes that China will take into account the overall perspective of bilateral relations and will work towards early resolution of the remaining issues while fully abiding by bilateral agreements and protocols. China also indicated the talks had failed. A statement from the Chinese military's Western Theatre Command said, quote, India insists on unreasonable and unrealistic demands, adding difficulties to the negotiations, end quote. India said during the talks that lasted 8.5 hours on 10th October 2021, India had pressed for an early disengagement of troops in the remaining friction points in eastern Ladakh. A major focus of the Corps Commander level talks on the Chinese side of the Chushul-Moldo border point in eastern Ladakh was to complete the stalled disengagement at Hot Springs area known as Patrolling Point 15, PP15. The talks took place over 2 months after the last round of negotiations that resulted in the disengagement of troops from Gogra. The resolution in Gogra had marked India and China backing down in 4 of the 6 flash points, the others being Galwan and north and south banks of the Pangong Lake. The standoffs in Depsang and Hot Springs continue. India has been insisting that the resolution of outstanding issues in all friction points, including in Depsang, is essential for an overall improvement in ties between the two countries. India-Denmark launched 5-year action plan on green strategic partnership. India and Denmark stressed on the importance of collaboration in the water sector, equally urban and rural water, wastewater management and river rejuvenation during the talks in India between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and visiting Danish Prime Minister Ms. Mette Frederiksen. The two leaders noted the possibility of upscaling activities in the fields of water supply, wastewater management and river rejuvenation from city level to state level or basin level and encouraged further exploring this option with the relevant authorities. The MOU inked between the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, National Geophysical Research Institute, Hyderabad, India and Aarhus University, Denmark and Geological Survey of Denmark and Greenland on mapping of groundwater resources and aquifers is a step towards the collaboration in the water sector. This MOU paves the way for a long-term collaboration which will help to address issues such as water scarcity, groundwater depletion and deterioration of groundwater quality. Prime Minister Modi proposed collaboration in areas like smart water resource management, waste to best, to create best resources and waste to efficient supply chains, and also collaboration in agriculture. He said the two sides would collaborate in the field of agriculture technology and also in related fields like food safety, cold chain, food processing, fertilizers, fisheries, aquaculture. Both sides would also cooperate in the field of smart water resource management, waste to best and efficient supply chains. On health, last month an MOU on health cooperation was signed between the two sides, and 2 days ago, the first meeting of the Joint Working Group on Health was held. Denmark became the first country outside the tropics to ratify the International Solar Alliance framework in May 2021. Around 60 Indian companies that are working in Denmark primarily in the area of ICT, and Prime Minister Frederiksen welcomed more Indian companies to come in Denmark and explore the opportunities there. Indian Secretary West in the MEA Reenat Sandhu, in a special briefing, said that Denmark is a world leader in several green technologies and sustainable solutions. There are over 200 Danish companies that are present in India. Many of these are actively involved in taking forward key national missions of India, like Making in India for the World. Many of them are manufacturing in India and even exporting abroad.
The two Prime Ministers had held a virtual summit in September last year, 2020, during which our bilateral relations were elevated to a green strategic partnership. This is a very unique partnership that is focused on collaboration to promote green and sustainable growth. The two Prime Ministers had a very fruitful and productive meeting today, which demonstrated our close and friendly relations. Today's meeting provided an opportunity to both Prime Ministers to review the progress made on this partnership. The Danish PM noted that our bilateral partnership is an example where two very different countries in terms of size, geographies and histories can come together and work on solutions to address global challenges.
India takes a lead position in space as Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches the Indian Space Association. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch Indian Space Association on October 11th via video conferencing. Modi will interact with representatives of the space industry on this landmark occasion. ISPA is the premier industry association of space and satellite companies that aspires to be the collective voice of the Indian space industry. It will undertake policy advocacy and engage with all stakeholders in the Indian space domain, including the government and its agencies. Echoing the Prime Minister's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, ISPA will help in making India self-reliant, technologically advanced and a leading player in the space arena. ISPA is represented by leading homegrown and global corporations with advanced capabilities in space and satellite technologies. Its founding members include Larsen & Toubro, Nelco, OneWeb, Bharti Airtel, MapMyIndia, Walchand Nagar Industries and Anant Technology Limited. Other core members include Godrej, Hughes India, Azista BST Aerospace Private Limited, BEL, Centum Electronics, Maxar India.
प्राइवेट सेक्टर को इनोवेशन की आजादी, दूसरा सरकार की एनेबलर के रूप में भूमिका, तीसरा भविष्य के लिए युवाओं को तैयार करना और चौथा स्पेस सेक्टर को सामान्य मानवीय की प्रगति के संसाधन के रूप में देखना। इन चारों पिलर्स की बुनियाद अपने आप में असाधारण संभावनाओं के द्वार खोलती है।
US makes it clear to Pakistan that the relationship has been downgraded. A top official of US President Joe Biden administration had made it clear to Pakistan that the US has downgraded the bilateral relationship. US Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman used a public event in Mumbai to lay out in blunt terms the new parameters of US-Pakistan relations, stressing there would be no equivalence with Washington's deepening ties to India. She said this last week as began a trip to Islamabad. Sherman said the trip was for a very specific and narrow purpose, to talk about Afghanistan and the Taliban. She said US doesn't see itself building a broad relationship with Pakistan and it has no interest in returning to the days of hyphenated India-Pakistan. Sherman's reception in Pakistan the next day was stilted. A planned meeting with Prime Minister Imran Khan never materialized. Senior Pakistan government officials told a leading global daily that there was diplomatic tension between the two countries that needed to be resolved and that Khan was angry that he had not still received a phone call from US President Joe Biden. The decision not to call is intended to be an unambiguous signal of Washington's displeasure with Khan's attitude towards Afghanistan. No visa required for Maldivians to travel to India from October 15th. The High Commission of India in the Maldives has said that no visa will be required for Maldivians travelling to India from 15th October as the two countries have decided to restore the 2018 bilateral visa-free agreement. It has also said that the Maldives would be the first beneficiary of visa-free travel since COVID restrictions were imposed by India in March 2020. This move restores the bilateral visa-free agreement of December 2018. Foreign Minister of Maldives Abdullah Shahid welcomed the decision and said that he is delighted that India has agreed to resume the 2018 December visa exemption agreement between Maldives and India, which was temporarily suspended due to COVID-19 border closure. From 15th October 2021, Maldivian nationals will be exempt of visa requirements for tourists, medical and business purposes. Bollywood Supremo Salman Khan's much-awaited Antim now looking at a 26 November theatrical release. The film will clash with John Abraham's Satyamev Jayate 2. Bollywood super-duper star Salman Khan's upcoming film Antim has been making noise for several reasons. The film was in the buzz for its possible Diwali release. However, a latest report reveals that director Mahesh Manjrekar and team will most probably be getting the film ready for a November-end theatrical release. The film is shaping up well. Salman, who recently returned from Tiger 3 shoot, is still shooting a few extra scenes for Antim. With these new scenes, the film's editing is expected to take a little longer and that is why the films won't be releasing on Diwali. The good news is that the film will now be releasing theatrically. Earlier, Antim was being considered for only a digital release. That's all for this bulletin of Daily India Report. Thank you for watching.
And thank you very much, Ankita, for that Daily India report. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget that from Tuesday through till Saturday, we have the Daily India reports, courtesy of PIO TV. Well, right now it's time to look at some of the functions and events taking place right here in Brisbane. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's about all we have time for you in this segment. It's been wonderful having your company, and hope to see you all tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow we'll have the two segments, 9 a.m. the news update and daily India report, and 10 a.m. We will have the real estate update with Usha Chandra of GlobeNet Realty. Until that time, it is goodbye from us. Have a safe day, and of course, be careful. Always observe those health warnings and the hygiene as well. Even though we are easing the restrictions a little bit, but I think we still need to be vigilant and maintain the hygiene habits that we have picked up during the COVID. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. So good to have your company.